Day 2 of the Asian Cup is in the books, and even though we had 2 scoreless games, I felt like today was pretty good. I'm going to give you all my thoughts and takeaways from all 3 games. Make sure you leave a like in the video and hit subscribe so you don't miss daily Asian Cup content on Deadball TV. And y'all can join us bright and early tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. for Japan versus Vietnam. We'll see y'all there. The first game I want to cover is China 0, Tajikistan 0. In my opinion, this was the most entertaining game of the day. Not necessarily the highest level of football, at least not the entire time, but I enjoyed it despite us not getting any goals. There were 30 shots total in this game, only 4 on target though between the 2 sides. And let's get into China first. The first thing I have to say is the back line led by the Chinese Sergio Ramos, Zhang Peng looked actually pretty solid, at least against this level of competition. 20 total fouls committed by China, which is the most of any team so far. And to just put that into perspective, in the entirety of Qatar versus Lebanon, there were 18 fouls. China committed more fouls by themselves, which is exactly what they did against South Korea. The only difference in that game is they lost 3-0 because South Korea actually have players who know how to put the ball in the back of the net, unlike Tajikistan, unfortunately. It was a pretty rough day finishing wise for the stand countries, but we're going to stick on China just a little bit longer. Their playstyle was pretty much exactly what I expected to see. Offensively, very dysfunctional, but in the few rare moments where they were able to string a few passes together, they did look dangerous. And you could argue that China had the better chances in this game. Very quiet game from Mule. I don't even know how many touches that man got. He didn't really get a lot of service, truthfully. I mean, if you watch this game, I felt like China were pretty muted until about the 75th minute, and then they were by far the better team to close the game. And I don't know if that's because Tajikistan just gassed out or because China realized that they too can also pass the ball if they want to, but for whatever reason, they really turned it on. And I guess this is a good time to talk about the disallowed goal. And look, I am not a Chinese apologist. I'm not a Chinese nationalist. I am not Chinese, despite what some of you watching may think. And I think it's a very, very harsh call. I totally understand that by the letter of the law, the player's offside, and I don't have really beef with that. I just have an issue with the whole impeding the Tajikistan defender. I'm not really sure he does that much. I agree that he was standing in front of the Tajik defender and prevented him from coming off the line, but the header was already in the air, and really the only thing that he was impeded from was maybe his vision to possibly jump and maybe be in a position to hit the ball off the goal line. I don't know. I just think it's a stretch. This is not a decision that's going to keep me up tonight. All right, I'm not going to have nightmares, at least not about this. I will have nightmares about Uzbekistan, but we'll get to them next. But this is a very good reminder that the Chinese size, I believe they're one of the 5 biggest, tallest teams at the Asian Cup, that will keep them in games, at least against opponents of Tajikistan's level. You guys let me know in the comments what you thought about China's performance overall. I have to say, I was impressed. Like, I really was. Defensively, offensively, pretty much exactly what I thought I was going to see. And moving on to Tajikistan, man, these guys were so close so many times to actually looking good, and they fell short time and time again. It is going to be very difficult for any other team at the Asian Cup to display poorer finishing than Tajikistan did today. I mean, it's no wonder that there's not a single player in their Asian Cup roster who even has 10 goals for the national team. Nobody, not a single player has hit double-digit goals for Tajikistan. And without watching this game or maybe seeing Tajikistan previously, you'd be like, how is that possible? Watch this game, watch the replay, watch the live stream that's on the channel, and you will see why, my friend. Their attacking midfielder and captain, I believe, Zhalilov, I think that's how you pronounce it. Again, he's like almost class, but he's not. I feel like if Tajikistan are going to win a game of this tournament, that man has to be either on the score sheet or getting an assist, and he was just making the wrong decisions today. Although I guess shout out to him for trying a bicycle kick and being kind of close. And the last thing I want to say about Tajikistan is my confidence in their ability to potentially do something was pretty shattered by their goalkeeper, Rustam Yatimov. Oh my God, that guy is terrible. Guys, what if I told you he completed 6 of 19 passes? That is a 32% success rate. That is trash. You could put me in a keeper. Guys, I promise you I'm getting you at least 50%. I swear to God. It's one thing if you can't pass, but you're a beast shot stopper. This guy is not even that. I don't think his positioning was good. I don't think he covered his lines well. There was one moment where if Nazarov didn't have a goal line, goal-saving tackle, China were also going to score off a low cross that Yatimov failed to deal with. It's not over for Tajikistan because Lebanon are in this group, and they are still, I think, probably the worst team I've seen at the Asian Cup, although India definitely gave them a run for their money. But yeah, not very encouraging. Next, we got Syria 0, Uzbekistan 0. And the first thing I have to say about this game is shout out to the Syrian back line and honestly the team overall, because everybody did their part defensively to keep this at a stalemate. I said it in a preview a while back. The Syrians are one of those teams that if you can get a goal early against them, you can really start cutting them up, right? Like a charcuterie board. But if you don't, they are probably one of the toughest teams at this Asian Cup. I would say top 5 most difficult opponents to break down. The Syrians don't do anything magical with the ball. They're not a very offensive team, but what they do have that a lot of these other more defensive, pragmatic teams don't have is legitimate quality going forward. I thought Ibrahim Hasser looked like a beast today. I mean, just a very confident, authoritative footballer. And Amar Ramadan, dude, probably one of the sauciest moves hit on my boy Shukurov to get a shot away in this game. Also, legitimate baller. And so this is the difference between Syria and, again, a team like Lebanon, who really do not have any offensive quality whatsoever. And for that reason, I do think Syria has a definite chance of, if not getting second, certainly getting third. And not only was the defense really, really good, but you could argue Syria had the 2 best chances of the game. I mean, the Uzbeks' best chance probably came from Fazalev outside the box, and it's a good curling shot, but it's not the quality that the Syrians were generating. Can I get a like on the video for my light in the back just randomly turning on? That was weird. As I was about to say, I think the Syrians will be very happy with this point, and I think they're going to walk away from this thinking that they can probably get a draw against Australia too, with how kind of unclinical they look today, and be looking at India as 3 points. And now on to the Uzbeks. I feel like the attack and the midfield were very disconnected in the game today, and it was really disappointing to see because this team has the potential to be electric, but they just looked flat. I know Shomurodov is out. I know he's very important to this team, but don't tell me the Uzbeks don't have the depth necessary to cope with a loss like that. Something about the composition wasn't right today. I don't like that Shukurov is by far the most offensive-minded midfielder in the Uzbek 11. I thought he had a good game, but my man had no help whatsoever. And now the light is out again. Okay. I'm just going to say it right now. If I was a manager, I would start Fazalev in the next game. I thought when he came on the left side of the field, it was immediately a difference. They immediately looked more dangerous as a team overall. He's a very shifty player. He can turn, he can pass, he can obviously shoot, probably had the best Uzbek chance of the game. That kid needs to play the full 90. And if I was the coach, I'd put him in the midfield. I'd put him next to Shukurov, and I would let those boys cook. Because I'm telling you now, if Yurinov and Masharipov play again like they did today, Uzbekistan are kind of in trouble. I thought Yurinov especially was terrible for a lot of the game. And Masharipov, bro, you're supposed to step up. You're supposed to be the guy now that Shomurodov is gone. And that's how you play. It just wasn't enough. I do want to shout out Kusanov, though, the center back. 19 years old. My man looked like a stud back there. He is definitely a player to watch. And I feel like if there are some positives to take away from this game for the Uzbeks, is that their young guys were their best players. So for the Uzbeks, I'd probably give this game like a C-. I mean, it's not like they were absolute trash, like they just lost the ability to play football and they don't remember how to pass. It wasn't like that. It was just very predictable. It was elementary. It was routine. It looked like 75%, you know, maybe second gear for most of the game. And this is a continental tournament, bro. You got to play harder than that. I think they will feel encouraged about the India match next up because India are not going to be as good defensively as Syria, like not even close. And I think the Uzbeks, God willing, make some adjustments that will make them a little more offensively competent in that match. You guys let me know what you thought about this game, though. I mean, it definitely left Group B wide open, I'll say that. Which takes me to the last game in Group B, which is Australia 2, India 0. I want to start with Australia, and this is going to offend people, and I do not care. They completely dominated. And if you do not agree that Australia dominated, my friend, I do not know what to tell you. 71% possession, 29 shots, and not bothered at all defensively. Now, the final scoreline of 2-0, that's great for Indian morale. That's great for the goal differential. But let's not get it twisted and make it seem like, oh, like India were amazing. They got robbed, something like that. No. Australia deserved to win this game. Period. Now, with Australia, I'm a little concerned of the Boyle, Metcalf, Goodwin midfield. I just don't think it's, one, the truly strongest Australian midfield, and two, I wonder how they're going to perform against the bigger players in Asia. I kind of doubt they're going to be able to create the chances they need to take down some of those bigger teams. I think Count Ubakis and Jackson Irvine is that double pivot is probably as good as it gets in Asia. Like, that's fire. I wouldn't adjust that whatsoever. It's kind of in front of that, you know, the guys who are going to give Mitchell Duke the service. That's where I worry a little bit with this team. Even against Syria, seeing how they played today against Uzbekistan, I'm very curious how the Australians look in that match. The first Australian goal today comes from Jackson Irvine. It's an ugly goal. Ugly goal. Individual error from Sandhu, the Indian goalkeeper, who I thought overall my man struggled, but I'm going to keep it on Australia just a little bit longer. Now, the second Australia goal was beautiful. It's an amazing run from McGree down the right side, burns the Indian fullback, puts a great ball across the box, and Jordan Boss slots it home for his first goal with the Socceroos. Y'all know I love Jordan Boss. I think he's the truth. I think he's going to be one of the best fullbacks in Asia, period, you know, all national teams included in the next 2 to 3 years, and I'm very happy for the guy. And maybe you could even make the argument he should have had a brace this game. Overall for Australia, I think they'll love the way that they played for the most part. I think they'll love that they got 3 points. They probably wanted more than a 2-0 scoreline, but they're also, again, looking at the Uzbeks and saying, dang, they already dropped points. You know, I mean, the Socceroos, they're in the driver's seat in Group B completely right now. But any Socceroos fans listening, y'all let me know what you think about this performance. I'd probably give it an A-. And finally, we'll get to India. What I want to say about India first is their fan base absolutely showed out for this game. I mean, the cheers and the noise every time there was a pass, a clearance, a goal kick, a missed shot. It was incredible. It has been, bar none, the best support of the tournament so far, even including Qatar, who are the host nation. And that's genuinely an amazing thing. I'm not trying to be tongue-in-cheek here. I mean, not a lot of national teams can play poorly or lose and still get support from the fans. I think that's something that, quite honestly, is very, very rare. Now, offensively, they didn't really challenge Australia whatsoever. There was a couple half chances in the opening 10 minutes, but once the Socceroos settled in the game, India really couldn't do anything. Their best chance of the game was that Chetri wide open header that he definitely needs to put on target, you know, at least make Matt Ryan make a save there, but he puts it wide, and that was as good as it got. India's one shot on target was a 35-yard grounder from Suresh that was going about 3 miles an hour that kind of just rolled into Matt Ryan's hand. So again, they did not test the goalkeeper whatsoever. And speaking of goalkeeper, Sandhu for India, I already mentioned the howler he had with Jackson Irvine, but with his feet, this man is a genuine liability. 18 of 41 passes completed. That's a 44% success rate. That is trash. And this is a problem that I mentioned when they lost 3-0 to Qatar in the recent World Cup qualifier. They cannot play out from the back. They might be able to do it against Lebanon, who are also trash, or another very, very poor Asian side, but against these elite teams, they just don't have the quality. I don't know what else to say about India, man. I feel like for their standards, they played all right, okay? They looked defensively solid. They kind of took advantage of Australia being very wasteful, and offensively, they didn't do anything, and they're going to need to find a way to score goals in this tournament, and I don't know where it's going to happen against, because I can't see it against Syria, and I don't really see it against Uzbekistan either. But now that Uzbek game is looking particularly spicy, so we might have to do a live stream for that on the channel. I mean, you just have to follow us on Twitter and wait and see. That is the video, guys. Make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed and hit subscribe so you don't miss the daily Asian Cup content here on Deadball TV. Check out our social media, Twitter and Instagram in the description of this video so you know our live stream schedule. I appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all at 5:30 tomorrow morning.